Back here on HQ, coming into the college football season, there was a lot of Heisman hype around Texas quarterback Arch Manning, and he didn't look great in that season opener against Ohio State, and the doubters have just become louder and louder ever since. Fast forward to where we're at now, after week 3, and Arch had 10 straight incompletions in the first half against UTEP. So if we're looking at Arch Manning so far this season, it's not really great. The completion percentage towards the bottom of the SEC. I guess interception, if you want to find, like, this is something that's not that bad. I don't really know. It's not good. But again, Arch Manning is young. He has time. We have to kind of remember that, right? And our draft analyst, Mike Renner, just dropped his college football quarterback tiers. We have trending up, where we find John Mateer, Carson Beck holding firm, Fernando Mendoza, Garrett Nussmeier. Trending down, Drew Allar, Cade Klubnik in that category. And then trending toward 2027, that's where we have Lenore Sellers. That's where we have Arch Manning. And Mike said, if you're reading this, no explanation necessary as to why Arch Manning is in that trending towards 2027 category. We have Mike Renner with us, and we have Chip Patterson to talk about these. And Chip, you're going to kind of give us the rest of the season perspective, and Mike, maybe more of like a draft perspective, right? So I know you said no explanation, Mike. We want an explanation. Why should Arch maybe wait for the 2027 draft, as you know, we're looking at the small sample size that we have right now?
I mean, you're just seeing inaccuracy, poor decision making. It's just to a degree that this guy needs reps, right? He needs to play more football. The talent's still obvious. You know, if you just clipped his best plays, I know we clipped his worst plays, but if he clipped his best plays, he has a highlight reel that's still pretty darn good. He has a highlight reel of throws that still can hold up there right up against a lot of the guys in this class. He is very physically gifted, but his down-to-down consistency is abysmal at this point. So that needs to change quickly. But even if it doesn't, the guy has time. This is his very first year as starter. He has 2 years of eligibility after this. So trending towards 2027, he could even be in the 2028 class at this rate.
Yeah, the thing that's so amazing to me is he has been on campus in Austin for more than 30 months. Like, this is his first full year as a starter, sure, but I remember watching him in spring game 2 years ago and in spring game the year before. And you know what? He looked better against his own team than he's looked so far. But wait. Oh, no, that's right. He started before, because when Quinn Ewers was banged up, Arch Manning got to start. And I know it was lesser competition, and that's what we said as the context of those performances, but he looked better then than he looked right now. So whether it's the accuracy, whether it's the decision-making, look out, Arch. You got to get this thing together. You got to get this thing together fast, because I know that Florida looks like they're in free fall. No offense, Jacqueline, but that is a defense that can expose your issues. There's a game against Oklahoma that has massive SEC title implications. You got to play the Dogs later this season. And the thing is, if Arch doesn't get this thing together, that Texas offense that, as we just showed you, is one of the worst statistically in the SEC, it's going to end up leaving this team 8-4, 9-3, well short of expectations.
Yeah, so Chip, you kind of laid it out there, some of those tough opponents that there is left on the schedule, right? So logistically, what do you need to see from Arch in order to make you feel like, hey, he's moving in the right direction here and trending the right way?
He's just got to see it. I mean, I think that Steve Sarkisian does a great job of game planning and play calling, and there are times when he just misses Ryan Wingo crossing right across the field, and that is the thing that Sark's offense at Texas is supposed to do. You don't need to have elite throwing power. You don't need to be a perfect NFL prospect to be able to be very productive because of the way that Sark schemes them open, and I promise you, it will not take long. And you know how I know that? Because to Mike's point, the best throws can still look great. This guy had 4 touchdowns in 5 minutes earlier this season. So he's just got to settle down, settle into his place. I am not the quarterback here, but it does look like it's between the ears, and that means we're close, if he can get it right, to being strong again.
You heard it here first from Chip. Don't overlook that Florida defense on October 4th. All right, let's go to Indiana's quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, because completed 95% of his passes last weekend. But Mike, how do you evaluate that when you're also taking into account the strength of schedule for Indiana as well?
Yeah, you kind of just have to say it's nice, but NFL evaluators at the end of the season aren't going to watch any of these games, right? They're going to watch Illinois this upcoming weekend. They're going to watch Oregon here in a few weeks. Those are what really matter, but it's process, right? You can see things on tape like accuracy. When you only have one incompletion the entire day, like you did against Indiana State this past weekend, that's usually pretty darn good from an accuracy perspective. And his ball placement in that game was fantastic. I think he's really handled this offense. You always thought, what was it going to be like when he had a real offensive line? What was it going to be like when he had some talent at receiver that he just didn't have at Cal? And it's looked very good to start. So I had him as the #1 overall pick in my pre-draft or preseason mock draft. I wouldn't come off that right now. I think what he's done through 3 weeks could very easily still end up at the top of this upcoming draft.
I'm looking at Indiana, and it's interesting because Fernando Mendoza has gotten better each week, but the competition has also gotten worse each week. You know, it's gotten to a place where you are looking at Indiana and you are seeing the opportunity for this Hoosiers team. If they can take care of situation against Illinois, then we could find them all of a sudden winning the next game and the next game. And then all of a sudden, if you think Fernando Mendoza can get Indiana into a position, well, they've got to play against Oregon, but they've also got an opportunity against Penn State. And instead of thinking maybe Indiana's going to fall short in those situations, well, Fernando Mendoza has shown the ability to improve and have a better grasp of the offense. Because one thing that I have seen from Fernando Mendoza that I feel the strongest about is that in week 1 against Old Dominion, they were not doing a good job of finishing drives, and they have since done an amazing job of being able to punch it in for touchdowns. That's somebody who's getting a better grasp of the offense. That's somebody who continues to improve with his new team.
All right, let's get to Carson Beck, because at one point he was the favorite to go #1 overall in the 2025 draft. Then, of course, towards the latter half of last season with the injury, all of that, the conversation sort of shifted. So, Mike, how does he stay atop of, that #1 overall conversation here as the season continues?
Well, he was a ways away from it heading into this season. From everyone I talked to, I mean, this guy was a day 3 pick heading into the season. So he's got a lot of ground to make up to get back into that category. But it's a job well done through 3 weeks. I think he's playing faster than I've ever seen him. The data backs that up. His time to throw is the quickest of his career right now. And he's very accurate so far. I mean, his underneath, intermediate accuracy has been tremendous. I still need to see a little better deep ball accuracy. He's had some big plays, but his accuracy on a consistent basis is still an issue, and that was an issue for him back at Georgia. And then we just got to avoid the duds, right? I mean, you see Notre Dame give up over 40 points this past week, and you thought that might have been a great performance from him, and then maybe that defense isn't so great. So can he avoid those games that we saw from him all too often at Georgia where he just goes in the tank, throws a bunch of picks, because that's unfortunately what he was known for. And when you don't have the outside of structure creativity to your game, you better be a accurate pinpoint pocket passer that doesn't make a ton of mistakes.
Carson Beck, he's now favorite to win the Heisman. Chip, do you see that happening? Fast forward a couple months here.
I could see it. He could spin this as a great story. We've seen a lot of Heisman Trophy winners be transfer quarterbacks, and the impact that they have at their new school is what powers a lot of that storyline that the Heisman voters jump onto. But I think that what he has done in terms of being able to show that the work he put in while he was not throwing the football, while he was not getting the reps, that work mattered. Because he did have to spend all of spring practice and a lot of the offseason not being at 100% throwing the football, working with Shannon Dawson, sitting in the film room. And I could count on all of my fingers and all of my toes and all of our collective fingers and toes the number of times that I've heard some amazing story about a quarterback who put in a lot of hard work even though he couldn't play. And you know what? It never looks like it translates. But with Carson Beck, that's what it looks like. That all the time with the receivers, all the time when he couldn't throw the football, recovering from that elbow injury, it actually mattered because he has a total grasp of Shannon Dawson's offense. He has been in sync with wide receivers he just started throwing to. And if he can continue to have this kind of accuracy, then yeah, he could be the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, and we saw it there. Carson Beck is the favorite to win the Heisman. Garrett Nussmeier, as we saw as well, the favorite to go #1 overall in the upcoming draft. So, Mike, do you see that happening come April?
I don't know. It's going to be difficult for Nussmeier because from a tools perspective, that's usually what goes #1. And he has one of the weaker arms in this draft class. He's only 6'1", 205. He's one of the lesser athletes in this draft class. He doesn't impress physically. He impresses from a processing standpoint, from how he plays the game. But this year, you've kind of seen some ups and downs from him. I mean, he's only averaging 6.5 yards per attempt through 3 games. Yeah, he's probably had the most difficult stretch of any of these quarterbacks we've talked about so far in terms of the defenses he's faced. But when you don't have those tools, you better be darn near perfect to go #1 overall. So long season, but right now he probably has the highest floor in this class, but I'm not sure he reaches the ceiling of #1 overall.
Mike, Chip, we certainly appreciate it. Diving into all of the quarterbacks at the college ranks. And for more draft talk, make sure you check out the With the First Pick podcast, CBS Sports' year-long NFL draft pod. Ryan Wilson, Rand Carthon, and Jonathan Jones on the latest episode. You can watch right now by scanning that QR code, or make sure you check out Cover 3 as well with Chip and the crew. There's a Big Ten show in your feed right now. The guys are giving previews for Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Nebraska, and Iowa, Rutgers. Speaking of Michigan, Nebraska, and the Big Ten, our college football pregame show is hitting the road. If you are in Lincoln, make sure you stop by the Rail Yard. Come say hey to our crew. That is Saturday, September 20th.